only a few of them, and they'll be a little bit bigger. So we had 1 and 2 for the far ones. Let's go to 3 or 4, and a lot of turbulence. Because basically, and the snow, the wind speed could go even the other opposite direction. Basically, what you want to do is convey the impression that there is, maybe you're under a house or an awning, or there's a rock, or you're under a tree, and therefore the wind far away is blowing in a different direction than the wind from the wind that is right in front of your nose, and therefore the snowflakes may be going in a slightly different, the flurries may be going in a different way, more down, perhaps a little bit faster, higher velocity. There are fewer of them though, don't go too many, and go render that. You might also want to make them brighter, just to make them easier to see. And there might be other reasons. Maybe you're actually standing close to a street light, or you're just on the balcony of a house, and there is some lights inside the house or on the outside that are making those snowflakes that are closer to you easier to see because they're being lit by the light. So a couple of ways to make it look like, well, this looks like heavy snow. Okay, this snow is going down vertically so much it's almost like heavy wet snow. That's not what I needed. So I'm gonna click undo, and we have 1 level of undo. That's also another place where the real high-end professional tools will perhaps be meaningful if you want the additional levels of undo. We probably will have that added at some point here to give you additional levels, but at this point we just save the image sequence into a temp buffer at 1 level for the animation sequence. If you look at Pixelan, I think they have 10 levels of undo for their videos, so quite a bit more to work with, and therefore it makes it a great plugin and a great add-on to the Dog Waffle main product here, the mothership as I like to call it. So let's go and give it a little bit of wind still to the side, and we'll make it not too bright and render that. Now, while this is happening, I think we're pretty much going to be done with the basics of what we want. We need a selection mask, the alpha channel. We paint it in front or behind around the trees. We understand how that works. We did a little bit of a light diffusion. There's a couple of other filters that you might want to use. Certainly if you want to zoom in, or if you want to do any sort of path transformation, then perhaps we can do that. Let's see, we have here, yeah, we got enough of an animation. Let's do enough of a snowfall animation. Let's do a final render here where we actually zoom in, and that will be done under the transforms. So let's look for the transforms. There they are. And in transforms, what we'll do is we'll simply start from this scene. Come on, there you go. From the first frame, where we are right now. Okay, set a keyframe right there, and then go in to about this much. And for that, what we'll do, we'll simply zoom in a little bit, ever so slowly. Okay, keyframe that, and then we'll zoom in some more, but we'll also move a little bit. So grab the middle and move, I don't know, let's say we move to the right. Not too far because you would see the edge here. Let's move something like that. Okay, keyframe that. And then here we'll go and zoom even more, but we'll also move looking down a little bit into that right corner. That's where I'm going to fall as I'm skiing down to that spot. Bad memories. And then also rotate a little bit. Now you don't want to rotate too much because you'll soon see the corner, the edge down there, so you want to do a little bit, and it really doesn't need a whole lot. So keyframe that. Okay, and then what do we see when we fall? I don't know, we probably see the sky after we land on our roof, on our back. So let's zoom in there and rotate a little bit more. There. Alright, so we have a little zoom sequence. Render that. We will be zooming in ever so slowly, then we will be drifting a little bit to the right as we think we can go ski there, and then boom, a quick move, yanking down and looking up to the sky. Kind of a neat way to simulate what you see as you go the wrong way into uncharted territory there on in something that looks like a safe place to ski, and well, it's not. And then of course, this is a nice little animation, but we should probably also blackout in the end, right? So let's go do a little blackout here. Let's go color adjustment or color add. Any of these, value adjustment, any of these could really do. Let's do the value adjustment and simply say that at the very beginning here we just keep it as is all the way to about here, and then here we'll black out at this point. Well, pretty much here at the very end. We can always add a few more black frames at the end. We'll have the value go down to 0. Keyframe that. So we get a sudden drop in the value there. Render that. And now, of course, you say, well, why do I need to wait for so long when the only place where things change is at the end? And that's a good question. Well, okay, that was my question, but I want to show you that. I'm going to undo the rendering that was done, because let's say you had 500 frames there and you don't want to wait even just 10 seconds to go to the last 20 frames and render just that. So one thing you could do is actually reverse the sequence, so what you're looking at transforming is at the very end now, but it's going to be at the very beginning after you reverse it. Then you can actually render just the first 50 or so frames, and when you see that you're past that, you just stop the rendering, because your filter is not doing anything after that. That's before or outside of the part where you actually get it darker. So instead of going darker at the end, you start from black and you go brighter until you reach the normal brightness, and you do that over the first few frames only. Alright, so how do we do that? How do we reverse it? You go to the animation menu and you select the frames and simply say reverse frames, and that's it. That's my very fast code. So now we're starting on the side and we're sitting up and we're going back. Okay, but what we need to do is basically have it start black and go bright by about this much. Alright, so let's go and reset this entire sequence. And actually, easiest way to do is just click another filter and then go back in here. Alright, so now I'm going to say at the beginning it's dark. That's the value adjustment. Let's bring the value to black, and then keyframe that. And then we go about here, and by that point we bring it back to full brightness. Or actually, you know what, even better, somewhere before that, as we hit our head on the ground, we will go a little bit brighter. Kind of a flash, right? And even there, bing, right? And then it comes down to normal. Alright, so as we fall, we hit our head, we get a bright, well, we don't see it here in the preview, but what we do is we go bright and then we flash and black out. Alright, so now the reason I did this reversal is that we can focus on just rendering this first part rather than having to look at the last part and wait for the rendering of nothing happening across there. So what we'll do is we'll simply render till about, what's this frame here? Frame number 19? Only 20 frames here, right? So after frame 19 has been reached, we can cancel the rendering. Let's go do that. You can see the frame here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We are white. And then we're coming back to normal. There we are into 20, we can stop it. Okay, and we know we have rendered the frames that really mattered right there. Okay, once we've done that, we can simply go and reverse the animation once more. Frames, reverse frames, and we're done. Okay, now this one is a looping animation. I mean, it's our preview plays to the end and immediately continues again at the very beginning. If you want to actually see it black for a few more seconds, what you could do is simply go to that last frame. And it's not totally black, by the way. I still see a little bit of the trees here. So go one more, add, insert a frame there, go to that last one and totally erase it. Right click, erase it to black. Right, now you take that and click add a few times. Every time you click it, you'll see the number of frames here, 79 right now, one more 80, one more 81, 82, 83, and so you give it just a few more frames that way. Alright, and so you see now, when you play that, we fall, white flash, and we black out. Alright, Alright, so we have the basics of doing something like that. I'm going to save it, and next time we continue with this, it will be with the Pixelan, and maybe what we'll do is actually a quick walkthrough on how to install the Pixelan plugin, because it's good to understand that. So let's first save this. One thing you always want to do with animations is save the original, even though this is uncompressed and takes a lot of disk space. Let's see, snowfall, pun intended. The reason this is a fast save, especially if you have a fast hard drive, it's going to be uncompressed, so it takes a lot of disk space on the hard drive. The thing though, this one will save things even if they are not in perfect harmony, and I mean that relative to what the codecs like. When you save it to an AVI file, the codecs, some of the codecs don't like it if your width or the height of the image is an odd number. Let's say, you know, instead of 300 pixels, if you had it 299 pixels. And in fact, let's see what this one is. Image info. There you go. See, that one's not 800, it's 799. And it's not 540, it's 539. So somewhere in there, that image that I loaded, I must have cropped away a pixel or so. And it loaded in not as an 800 pixel image, but a width of just 799. Now this looks good inside the program. And when you save it, when you load it back, it will still work too. But if you save it as an AVI, it will depend on a number of things as to whether you can use it. Let me give you an example. Let me save this. Okay, and I'll save it as an AVI. And let's see where we can save that. Under the daily dose. And in the daily dose, I will say, well, let's just call it my AVI. That's the default. Now it will ask you for a codec without compression or with compression. You know, most compressors here will actually not like it when it's a 799, but they may not tell you. You know, some codecs will fail upon attempt to writing, but some codecs will just do their best, and then it may turn out that when you try to view it, some of the image viewer or movie players, like Windows Media Player or MP Classic, Windows Media Player Classic, QuickTime Player, many other WinFF, MPEG, you know, a number of media players. Some of them will actually be able to work with the width even if it's an odd number, but many of them will not. Let me give you an idea of what it looks like. I think if we save this as a logarithm lossless, it's going to save this now. And it looks like everything is honky-dory, but after that, when you play it back, it may turn out that something got corrupted. And it's not necessarily corrupted, it's just maybe more likely it's that the video viewer, the player, doesn't know how to render back something that has a number. It expects it to be a multiple of 2, an even number, or even a multiple of 4, a multiple of 8, and so on. So many of the codecs have some limitations when it comes back to playing any size. So here I'm trying to play it in Media Player Classic, and look at that, it's messed up. Okay, and that is nobody's fault. Well, maybe the media player, maybe the codec just doesn't work with it, and we should know better. So you should know when you use a codec, you need to study that a little bit. You need to know what are the criteria, what are the conditions. MPEGs, MPEG-2, and so on, they all have some conditions. Sometimes you can only use it in a particular one single resolution. There may be just one resolution that a codec is made for, or the resolution has to be a multiple of 8, a multiple of 16, a multiple of 32, and so if you work outside of these constraints, it may just not look right. So if you think that you lost your data by that point, not necessarily. If you actually saved it as a DWA, dog waffle animation, you can still go and open that, and there it is, snowfall.dwa. Open that, and it still has it. Okay, so our native save doesn't care if it's an odd number or not. We can go and look at the image info. It still is 799. Okay, the width is still 79. But now, as you're going to save that, if you want to save it as an AVI, be sure to first change the resolution, the size of it, resample it, right?